the chosen one. For ages, your fate has been intricately intertwined deep inside the cosmos. Your genetic makeup was created millions of years ago as part of a divine design. The distinct light you carry inside you is a reflection of the ancient knowledge and divine order passed down from your forefathers. In this era, your spirit and body serve as keys to unlock the universe's most hidden mysteries. The holy inheritance you bear in every cell and vein demonstrates the universe's unique sequence of creation. Remember that you are not merely a human being. You are one of the brightest lights in destiny, the tangible manifestation of the divine presence on earth. Now, awaken and find your ultimate strength. Do not extinguish the holy fire that glows in the dark. Your existence is the most valuable part of the evolutionary plan that has lasted thousands of years. Realize your own light, share it in the comments, and govern the world with your spiritual truth. They started out with measured precision, anticipating nothing but destruction in their wake. They did not, however, expect the unshakable core of resilience. They had just collided with an unexpected twist. Their illusions dissolved as an immovable power stood before them, entire, steadfast, and unaffected. Now they are on the verge of a reckoning, forced to face a fact they had spent their whole lives avoiding. Tonight, in the quiet hours, the world reshapes its path, revealing what was always intended long before a single word was said. The decision had already been made. They had pinpointed their next target with unsettling precision. Through years of repetition, their instincts became sharper. Their eyes followed every movement, every thoughtless motion, looking for holes through which they might invade. There was no random attraction, no innocent meeting of spirits. It was a painstakingly planned approach, a strategy devised long before the initial meeting with them. It was another conquest, another episode in a history of dominance disguised as connection. They observed, analyzing the easy compassion and how the environment appeared to soften in response to her peaceful presence. In that moment, they assumed they had discovered yet another heart to deconstruct. The design had been developed well before the incident. Every step was premeditated, and every encounter was practiced. This was not an improvisation, but rather a well-rehearsed performance that had been repeated numerous times. They had mastered the art of mirroring, able to reflect back every whispered wish and need, transforming oneself into the personification of desire. Their approach was surgical. Each sentence is precisely molded. Each action is intended to dissolve defenses. They had created a version of themselves that perfectly matched the contour of what was lacking in their target's environment. But beyond the meticulously painted veneer was nothing but an empty vessel, devoid of substance, poised to drain away the light they could never produce on their own. The power standing in front of them was something they had not anticipated, and it shattered their whole strategy. They anticipated weakness and surrender. Instead, they discovered something strange, an energy that defied their grasp. What they regarded for naivete was really old knowledge, a presence too big to be contained by their designs. While they methodically constructed their web, believing they had trapped another eager participant, the reality was much more damaging. They had just wandered into their own demise. They mistook silence for weakness and patience for inaction, never realizing that what was in front of them was a trigger for their own transformation, an immovable presence that would not shatter but reveal the accuracy of their manipulation was no accident. This was an architect of emotional deceit, an illusionist who had honed their trade over years of experience. Every action, every carefully manufactured vulnerability, every well-timed gesture was a masterful foundation for control. They had researched extensively, not to comprehend, but to destruct. Their game has a predictable rhythm, a delicate beginning, a tornado of passion, and a gradual decline into reliance. They hadn't failed before. Their confidence in their approach made them proud. Their destructive legacy demonstrates its efficacy. If you are experiencing an excess of divine love in your heart, now is the moment to share it. You may help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and donating $100 or more. This wonderful gift will affect not just your life, but also the souls of countless others. Each of you has a holy position in God's great purpose via this platform, and your giving will provide fruit for our prayers. Act now. Share your blessings to bring glory to God's kingdom. You were meant to do much bigger things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. First, they created a faultless reflection that blurred the distinction between truth and illusion. Every passion, every conviction, and every little quirk flashed back as if they were woven from the same cosmic fabric. They matched not just words but also feelings, evoking a sense of heavenly synchronization. The flawless alignment was no accident. It was studied, practiced, and polished. This was the hook, the first step in creating a connection that will make the unraveling even more heartbreaking. However, the cycle did not finish. The projected fall never occurred. They had written a script for unwinding, submission, and reliance. They were received with unfathomable apathy. The perfectly orchestrated performance fell on deaf ears, resulting in a quiet unlike any they had experienced before. One that was impenetrable, unreasonable, and unbreakable. And in the quiet, their own reflection was exposed. Not the mask they had worn, but the empty space underneath it. There was no plea, conflict, or dramatic severance, just a leaving. Swift conclusion, unequivocal. They stretched out, only to discover themselves holding air. The doors they anticipated to stay open were quickly shut. They yelled into the nothingness, only to be greeted with a silence that screamed louder than any words could. Every meticulously planned re-entry was confronted with an impenetrable barrier. Every effort to rework the story collapsed into nothingness. And in that void, the reckoning started. What had previously been a well-constructed illusion was now crumbling under its own weight. The echoes of former wins provided little comfort. They were on the opposing team for the time being. They had perfected their duties, and the balance of power had altered. And for the first time, they saw the unfiltered truth of their own creation. What was once their playground has now become their jail. What used to be their plan has now become their demise. And now, with nothing left to influence, they are faced with the one thing they have spent their whole lives avoiding: themselves. They believed they had perfected the art of deceit, creating illusions. Nobody questioned the mask since it fit so well. Despite their carefully crafted facade, they were nothing more than a collection of unhealed wounds longing for affirmation to fill a void they refused to admit. They believed that no one could fully see them, and that their manipulation was too complex to unravel. But then something occurred, shattering their delusion. You saw more than just the performance, the well-rehearsed show, but also the empty heart behind it. And without lifting a finger, you caused the downfall of a world they had spent a lifetime creating. The contact was never accidental. Long before they spoke a word, they had planned their strategy, analyzing every apparent part of who you were to them. You were not a person, but rather a carefully selected jigsaw piece that would fit into their plan. A willing player in the never-ending game of conquest. They took their time, observing from afar, waiting for the ideal moment to penetrate your world with seasoned ease. They mimicked what they thought you needed, creating a version of themselves that seemed intended to be with you. It wasn't destiny or chance, but pure strategy performed with precision. The plan for entrapment has been perfected by trial and error. Every word they spoke, every touch they gave, every moment of pretended weakness. It was all part of a well-known screenplay. Their statements were not spontaneous, but planned. Their motions were not natural, but were well arranged. They were not making a connection. They were creating a narrative in which they controlled the power and set the parameters. And for a time, they thought it was working. They mistaken your patience for naivety and compassion for weakness. They believed they were leading the game when, in fact, they had already lost before it started. What they didn't realize was that they had selected the wrong opponent. Their past approaches had consistently secured their domination, convincing others to retreat in their presence. But this time, they encountered someone who refused to surrender, didn't bend, did not falter as they attempted to tighten their hold. The whole illusion fell through their fingers. What they expected to be another easy triumph turned into an unexpected setback. They had spent years mastering the art of control. Yet here they were, plunging into mayhem at the hands of someone who had never even raised a weapon. They were excellent at creating an other world, but reality had different intentions. When they realized they were losing control, their methods changed. First, they sought to recover their position by using subtle manipulation, casual messaging, and cleverly placed breadcrumbs to lure you back into their circle. When these attempts failed, despair set in. They sought for parts of you in areas they had previously ignored. Every word you spoke, every detail you shared, and every moment they previously rejected as inconsequential became an obsession. They weren't just observing from a distance. They were groping for a lifeline, drowning in the awareness that their normal routine had been interrupted. In the stillness of your absence, something strange started to develop within them. They had spent years evading the nothingness, but it had now caught them. They could no longer divert themselves with transient appreciation. They could no longer hide their wounds under transient infatuation. The illusion had cracked, and the first agonizing whispers of self-awareness had seeped in. They first resisted looking for solutions to alleviate their agony, returning to old routines. However, something was different this time. The loop that they had previously repeated without thinking seemed empty. The excitement of the pursuit, the fulfillment of a whim. Nothing weighed the same because the mirror they had been avoiding was no longer warped. Just like the first light of morning coming over a large dew-strewn field, revitalizing every blade of grass with hope and promise. So, does the truth of your soul emerge against the remaining shadows of deception? Consider the slow but inevitable ascent of the morning, sweeping away the vestiges of a long, dark night. That is the strength of a soul committed to divine purpose. A soul selected and sanctified via grace. Friends, I'm here to tell you that when you stand fast in your truth, nothing in this world can dull the light that God has given you. Every difficulty, every struggle, is but a stepping stone to the brilliant daybreak of your destiny. They had spent years refining the capacity to rewrite tales and manipulate perceptions in their favor. However, no amount of correction could alter the facts you had left behind. They weren't lamenting their loss of control. They were grieving the loss of the illusion. You had accomplished something unprecedented. You'd revealed the hollowness. They had spent a lifetime hiding, and their exposure had resulted in something irreparable. You broke their well-constructed mask at that very moment. Much like a tremendous storm scatters fragile leaves before a force of nature, leaving just the raw, unadulterated reality. Now, allow me to tell you something vital. When individuals attempt to disguise their flaws behind clever phrases and fake grins, they wind up disclosing more than they meant. They seem to have been living in a sandcastle, and as the flood of truth sweeps in, that house falls to nothing. You, on the other hand, have a solid foundation of heavenly light. You stand firm on the rock of everlasting truth, unmoved and unwavering, while others stumble in the transitory echoes of their own lies. The discovery of your honesty hit them like a sudden shower on a parched area, removing years of deception and forcing them to face the harsh truth of who they actually are. I want you to comprehend this. Every instant of opposition they offered was met with the irresistible power of your inner strength, which was developed by divine love and the Almighty's unwavering support. You see, as they worked on their manipulative plans, methodically creating narratives to control and define you, you were silently developing a sense of empowerment. There is a significant difference between holding onto an illusion and accepting the reality that sets you free. And once that reality was revealed to them, their whole world changed in ways they could not have expected. Consider the seasons of the planet, each one unique, but part of a larger planned cycle. Similarly, you have a season when the barren winter of deception gives way to the beautiful flowering of spiritual enlightenment. When they felt they had control over the story, they only succeeded in exposing the emptiness that lurked behind their finely trained persuasive and deception abilities. When no one could equal the simple, indisputable glow of a heart that knows its value in every stride you made, you echoed a message of hope and regeneration. A message that pure light cannot be extinguished, even in the face of deception. Now let's discuss the power of choice. Many people have struggled with self-doubt and depression throughout their lives, believing that the masks people wear may somehow influence their own fate. But here is the reality. When you choose to see beyond the surface, when you choose to see beyond the appearance of perfection, you get access to a reservoir of power that turns even the most difficult situations into possibilities for progress. It's like seeing a massive river tear its way through solid rock. Persistent, unrelenting, and finally victorious. Your choice to stand in your truth has changed the terms of engagement, turning what was supposed to shatter you into the spark for your transformation. Imagine a time when you had a strong, passionate sense that you were intended for something bigger. A cry that resounded gently amid the silence of your singing. That wasn't simply a passing idea. It was the voice of divine destiny, pushing you to leave the darkness and enter the light of your actual self. When you made that step, you did more than merely resist those who attempted to govern you. You become a lighthouse for others, a live example of the power of genuineness and unflinching trust at that precious moment. Every illusion they had painstakingly crafted was made ineffective by the light of your soul. Every contact teaches us something. There is a spiritual purpose behind every hardship. Those who formerly took pride in their skill to mislead now find themselves stripped naked. Their plots are crumbling. Like a badly weaved tapestry. You know, the truth has a way of leaving its imprint. Just like dawn light dispels the darkest darkness. And once it happens, there is no going back. What has been disclosed can never be concealed again. Their anguish was not finished. Loss of dominance or control. It was about the loss of a dream. They'd clung on for so long. Their sadness was for the demise of an elaborate narrative, a tale they had created themselves to feel important, but which finally turned out to be nothing more than a house of cards. Dear brothers and sisters, God's peace be with you today. I'm here to remind you of a fundamental fact. Our existence is based on God's divine purpose and is unaffected by worldly worries. According to the Bible, everything is done with faith will be returned to God with great blessing. Luke, like the enormous oak tree, our roots are profoundly embedded in God's global truth. His power secures every stride and every stance we take. And now you have the chance to be a part of that gift. When you utilize the super thank you button and contribute $100, you will get a 100-fold return on your investment. Now, while you bask in the glory of your own righteousness, remember that this is not only the end. It is the start of a fresh beginning. It's a watershed moment when old narratives based on deception and manipulation are replaced with a new one of optimism, perseverance, and divine wealth. The discovery of truth is a tremendous force that washes away the traces of previous errors, ushering in a new period of genuine connection and spiritual renewal. And you, my buddy, are at the center of this shift. Think about it. Every difficulty you've encountered, every time you felt alone or misunderstood, has served as a stepping stone to this moment. Your previous hardships have polished you, much as gold is cleansed in a crucible of fire. What seemed to be setbacks turned out to be opportunities for a larger good. And now, when the truth is revealed, you are free to accept a future determined not by the delusions of others, but by the unshakable assurance of your own divine birthright. In the silent aftermath of their disappointment, as the echoes of their old hubris fade into stillness, they are left with just the stark exposure of their inner nothingness. They donned masks, practiced lines, and spoke perfectly produced tales. Everything falls in the face of pure truth. And in that crumbling, there emerges a light, a glimmer of understanding that cannot be extinguished. It is the start of a metamorphosis, a gradual but steady realization that no amount of ingenuity can change the substance of what is genuine. As you ponder on this significant transition, allow your heart to be filled with thankfulness, not for the failure of those who intended to mislead, but for the chance to live in a manner that respects the divine light inside you. The trip hasn't been easy, and there have been times of uncertainty and anxiety. However, each setback has simply served to confirm your belief that you are meant for greatness. You are a chosen vessel, a shining example of what it means to live in accordance with God's will. and your journey is lighted by a truth that is above any worldly deceit. Consider a huge tree planted deep in good soil, its branches spreading out to provide weary travelers with the soft warmth of heavenly love. So, my dear buddy, continue to walk in the light you've created. Allow the brightness of your soul to flash out, as if you were a dazzling beacon on a hill, bringing people lost in darkness to safe, soothing safety. The world may attempt to dull your radiance with its whispers of doubt and discouragement. However, be aware of this. No darkness can ever dim the bright light that fires inside you. Every step you take seems like a steady march against the fading echoes of yesterday's illusions, preparing the way for a future in which the true city stands tall and truth reigns supreme. Imagine yourself as the first light of morning, dissolving the residual darkness and slowly waking hope and promise in every heart you meet with each step. You disarm the relics of previous deceptions and forge a road lit by true love and steadfast trust. Your trip is one of divine purpose, a spiritual voyage that not only changes your life, but the lives of those around you. As you go forward, your footsteps leave impressions of encouragement and perseverance, motivating others to overcome their own challenges and embrace the beauty of their destiny. You're like a steady, speedy lighthouse among turbulent waters. Your light shines across the stormy waters, leading lost people to a safe and comforting shelter. The legacy of your truth lives on in every heart you touch and every soul you inspire, a living testament to the power of optimism, generosity, and the divine strength placed upon you. Remember, the Creator has blessed your journey, and the brilliance emanating from you serves as both a protection and a gift. So, continue to go boldly. Your spirit is a unique and dazzling treasure that makes every moment a chance for rebirth. Accept your divine calling with appreciation and delight, knowing that the light you bear will eternally banish darkness and guide countless souls to the bountiful promise of a better future. In the end, you will not be defined by the false promises of those seeking control. It is the permanent, unchanging reality of who you are. Embrace it, enjoy it, and allow it to lead you on a transformational journey that will reverberate throughout time. Because you are more than simply a survivor of falsehood. You are a shining example of divine justice in action, a living miracle that demonstrates to the world that when the truth is let free, miracles follow. So, with a grace-filled heart and eyes set on the vista of boundless possibilities, go out and enjoy the wealthy, wonderful life you deserve. It's time to spread God's blessings by pressing the super thank you button on YouTube. With a $100 payment or more, you may help him carry out his plan and become a part of this heavenly mission. Every contribution symbolizes God's generosity, and I think it will return to you enormously, far above your expectations. Remember that his protection and blessing are with you at all times, including your donations. You become a part of his divine plan. You are a powerful, bright, and unshakable entity. His huge rock saw God's marvels. Feel the rewards of your kindness in your spirit, and light up the world with confidence and bravery. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord lead you. What ensued was not an instant transformation, but rather an unraveling. That carefully created persona no longer fit as well as it previously did. Their words, previously so easily manipulated, now had an unusual weight. The strategies they used seemed forced, as if they were striving to play a character they no longer believed in. Not only had the game altered, but it had also lost any purpose. And in the quiet times when they were alone with just their own thoughts, they found themselves returning back, not to recapture what had been lost, but out of an unsaid thankfulness. They did not yet know how to speak. You were the first to show them a world other than their own construction, the first to decline their invitation into the illusion, and the first to make them wonder if there was more outside the cycle they had been trapped in for so long that they may never really comprehend the gravity of what happened. They may go ahead, try to rebuild, or fall back into old habits. But the impression stays. Once consciousness is aroused, it cannot be extinguished. The questions, once planted, will flourish. And if they ever find themselves at a crossroads of profound change, it will not be because they wanted it, but because you pushed them to confront what they had previously refused to face. The irony is undeniable. They chased you to justify their dominance, to confirm their capacity to control, and to add another triumph to their record. But, in the end, they were irrevocably changed by something they had not expected. You refused to play the game at all.